Hello again. We're back to tell you about another game. Now this this is Holly, my wife, and she wants to say hello.
Apparently.
I've had this one a while, but I can't remember when it came in. I think it was like right as the pandemic was starting to kind of like wind down a little bit. But yes, Zoo-ography is a really cool little game. I voted the best looking meeples I think I've got.
Oh yeah, I like the meeples.
It's got these animal meeples that are just super neat.
Yeah, and tiles.
And the artwork on the tiles is really good. But it's a zoo building game where you're going to be laying down tiles to try and create habitats that fulfill some certain requirements that are drawn up. And these are objectives. Like so many games, there's going to be a series of objectives to meet in order to make the most optimal zoo. So in the beginning, the two zookeepers sort of decide on the size of the zoo. You randomly select some objectives for the game, and then you start laying out the tiles, which then brings the creatures in. It looks really friendly, but it is
friendly. It's not a hard game.
No.
But it's just right because you have goals to meet with each of your cards up here, and they're worth different points per card. So you have four, kind of objectives, 4 or 5, depending on the player count, and so you're adding points, but your points get stars, and then you have other things that take away points sometimes, or give you extra points.
Yeah, well, there's no extra. It seems
it's all negative. I thought they had some that were positive ones.
So these are kind of like edicts, like they do. Each of the objectives seems to be like either if you do this, you get your 3 stars. If you don't get it. And
right.
So because of that, it ends up being a really low scoring game. Like what was our score? Do you remember?
I was 4.5, and
yeah.
You were. What, 5.5 or something? It just...
Yeah, we ended up being really close, even though our zoos kind of look really different from one another. We've already played our game and all the animals are out, but I'm going to throw some more animals on the little display over here so I can talk through an example of how this might go. So these animals are going to come out randomly as we pull the tiles. The tiles will have a little character down at the bottom that specifies what type of animal goes out there. And then they just kind of get laid along this track.
And there's 6 at a time. Once you have your animals placed on the board, then you turn them over and they have the zoo out, the geography of the zoo.
Yeah, you'll have, these tiles will be laid out into a draft. And then we'll be picking them out. But as you lay the 6 out, that determines what animals get placed up there. And if you decide, on your turn, you have to take a tile. That's mandatory.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
That's what moves the game around. You don't have to place it, but you have to take it into your hand. And then you can do 2 actions, which is lay a tile down or lay 2 tiles down or take animals. And I guess you could, in theory, you could take animals twice. That's another action.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of difficult because when you take an animal, you got to take everything on the card, which can be really easy, or maybe is really difficult if you don't have enclosure space to take everybody. So
yeah, because there are requirements on the board for small animals and large animals. Like those large animals require like a little space to sit in, like a dirt patch, and 2 water areas, water holes. Whereas the small animals just require 1 of each.
There might be other requirements on the tile too. Like another thing you're trying to do is what we start with 5 visitors, right? So you've got these little visitor meeples, and there are little attractions around the board, and you've got to do things to place them there because any that you have left at the end of the game are negative. Yeah, they're negative points. So you got to engineer your zoo so that it brings visitors in and get those at least 5 anyway. Yeah. Of course, you won't get stars if you miss any of the little objectives, and then you'll get negative stars. You get minus 1/2 star for if you don't have enough animals, like there's an animal rating, so the size of your animals determines like, I don't know, like the biomass that you've managed to enclose in your zoo. So if you have only small animals, you might get a negative if it's under 10. If you have any unplayed pieces, like any tiles that you chose not to place, or any little visitor meeples, then those are negative 1/2. And for every tile that's outside your grid, outside the 4x3 Metro Zoo grid, and that size and shape of the zoo can change every time, that's also a negative. In fact, we've both chosen to take the negative.
Yeah.
In fact, it kind of counters out, that's what's funny, is that negative 1/2 counters out if I had it in my hand, it would also be the same thing.
Right.
So might as well lay it down.
Because it would be a leftover piece.
And that enabled me to take another couple of animals into my zoo and make it even bigger. So, interesting game. It's one that we've played this a number of times.
Yeah, yeah.
It kind of goes on the shelf and gets forgotten about for a while.
Welcome, Toby.
Hello, Toby.
He likes the animals too.
Do you like to watch us play with the zoo?
Say hi to everybody.
It doesn't seem to go, like, we played it mostly 2-player. I don't know if we played it with more people?
Yeah, Kerrigan's played it with us. I think Natalie.
I think we actually played this with some of our friends too. So we've played it at 4-player. Yeah. We've had it a while. Maybe I should look that up.
It's satisfying as a game in the sense that, like, if you are a puzzle worker or like patterns and trying to figure out kind of a Tetris-y kind of matchups, it is fun to kind of work things out and build them and see where you can construct nice little patterns and make a good aesthetic zoo.
I love the different tiles. They're really interesting to look at. I really feel like I'm completing a picture, and there's something really satisfying about that.
Yeah, we built a zoo.
We built a zoo. I don't know. So I try to think, is like when I play games that are sort of simulations, like this. I wonder if how accurate does it? Do you feel like you're building a zoo? Certainly. I mean, in some ways, yes and no. I like completing the picture, and stuff, and then working those requirements in just kind of makes that brings that puzzle into the whole thing. So this game funded on November 28th, 2018.
Oh, wow.
That means that
That's almost 5 years ago.
This is from the dawn of my board game obsession. When I backed this, my shelf looked like this. And now it's grown a bit.
The whole room.
It took over the entire room like a grapevine or a virus. It has enclosed the entire place. Now, I can't remember when it arrived. It probably arrived in 2020 or kind of late 2020. I remember them having some problems getting it out, and it was supposed to have another expansion just like come out right after it. But I think the 2020, the pandemic sort of killed that too. So it's been out for a while. The people that made this Kickstarter, it seems pretty indie. And I say that because as this thing was going along and they were getting prototypes, they would be showing it in their house, and their kids are like screaming and running around in the background and like grabbing the pieces and doing the stuff. He's like, here's the no, leave that alone. Here's how these things. Leave that alone. I remember just being like, okay. So this is probably one of the first like really indie games when I first started getting into Kickstarter. And I think I backed a few games with like big monsters in them or something, and I wanted to do something that Holly would perhaps enjoy looking at. And
yeah, because I think you got Meeple Circus about the same time.
Yeah. That was another one.
Also with a bunch of animals and stuff. Well, it's just different. Yeah. I like playing this game, I think, better, but I like Meeple Circus better with a crowd because like more than 2-player, because it gets really kind of funny.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do, the tasks you're trying to do. But to me, I think this game, in its artwork and its kind of theme, reminds me a lot of Parks. Totally different game.
Yeah.
Doesn't work similar at all.
So you're talking about pure vibe at this point.
Pure vibe. The same kind of weighted game and like playthrough wise, and they're light, but challenging.
Yeah, it's light, but it's just challenging enough to be interesting.
Yeah.
For a little bit longer.
And don't want to play it again.
Yeah.
If it's too easy, you wouldn't want to play it again.
Yeah, sometimes like they're super simple and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to waste time on something that easy.
I want more of a challenge.
Yeah.
This does give you a challenge.
But I don't like it to be so hard that I never want to play it again.
Right. Or take 5 hours to do.
Yeah.
It's quick.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, setup for this is pretty simple. A lot of this game is built around these little, what's that, 3x3 inch squares, maybe 4x4 inch squares. It's very nicely printed. The components are good for this. I got this was sort of like a big box version. I think there's a smaller one.
Yeah, it says it's the collector's version.
Yeah, this is the collector's. It came with this. It came with an expansion that adds monorails, which are these kind of little H-shaped or little U-shaped things that you can put out there, and that just adds other objectives and stuff. It's pretty neat. We've played with the monorails. We play without it. It's I don't mind playing without it, especially if I hadn't picked it up in a while.
Yeah.
Now that we've just played it again, maybe I'll try to torture Owen with this or something.
It's an extra challenge, an extra something to work in.
Yeah, that adds a little bit of visual interest to it too. But this box was made to encompass all of the components and stuff in the Kickstarter. It wasn't a huge Kickstarter. It wasn't. But boy, the quality is really good for an indie company. Like it's a good box and a really good insert that seems like really appropriate. Like if they thought of the spaces that need to be there and what needs to happen. And I'm not sure why I love that so much, but I think it's great.
Well, it makes you feel like you've gotten your money's worth. I mean, they care about their product.
They made they had 1,833 backers. They made $56,000, or that's what they raised on Kickstarter. 56,133, and the goal was 8,400.
Oh wow!
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think they could have actually printed it for 8,000, but maybe. It definitely wouldn't have looked like this because it came out great.
Yeah, it is. It's very satisfying.
So now I'm going to look it up and see if it's for sale. My pledge was
pre-inflation.
I paid $43.
Woo!
Plus shipping.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna look that up. I paid $43 plus shipping. It's kind of hard to get. There's a couple on eBay. Noble Knights Games has one for like $70 or something like that. So if you see that this is one you might find out in the wild, and if you ran across it and pulled up this video, I would pick it up. I think it's nice.
Definitely.
There's smaller versions of this too. I don't know what the components are like for those, but they did make other smaller versions also. Now, and I have no idea how many of those are out. Every one that I found looked like this. So, yep.
It is superior. So.
It is the best of what was made. So this is a game by Doomsday Robots. Check it out if you get the chance. Holly, you have anything else to say about this?
No, I'm good.
So Holly and I occasionally review games and stuff. If you'd like to see something like that, and other people, I review games all the time with a variety of people.
Change it up.
Change it up.
Keep it exciting.
We do different things.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to see stuff like that, there's a playlist right here. Over here's something that an algorithm thinks that you'll like, and I'd love it if you subscribe because I'd like to see you again. You remind me of an old friend. I'm just kidding. Enjoy your games, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.